Hi, my name is Maddie, and this is the story of Barnes & Noble. Originally named Arthur Heinz & Company, it began in 1886 in New York City, New York, as a bookstore, catering to local city. In 1886, Clifford Noble, a then recent Harvard graduate, was hired to work there as a clerk. He was then made a partner, and the name was changed to Heinz & Noble. In 1917, Noble bought out Heinz and entered into a partnership with William Barnes, naming the store Barnes & Noble. The company is known for large retail outlets, many of which contain a cafe serving Starbucks coffee, books, magazines, newspapers, DVDs, graphic novels, gifts, games, toys, music, Nook e-readers, and tablets. Fast forward to today, where there are 640 stores in existence, and it acts as the largest retail bookseller in the United States. Unfortunately, since 2008, Barnes & Noble has been struggling due to loss of market share to online retailers and has been forced to close an abundance of stores. Hit by Amazon's explosive growth a decade ago, it has still been forced to close from 798 bookstores to 640. Barnes & Noble management has instituted a series of corporate actions that suggest the company does not know where to go amidst the changing landscape. A key symptom of this is the company's decision to pursue several cost reduction programs by cutting down the number of stores. While these cost-cutting efforts have allowed Barnes & Noble to remain afloat, they do not constitute a viable long-term strategy. Instead of excessively focusing on decreasing the denominator, Barnes & Noble needs to focus on improving the numerator through innovation. To determine the changes we need to make, we asked ourselves, where are we going, and how do we get there? Currently, Barnes & Noble is highly egocentric. With the exception of Starbucks kiosks, we have failed to enhance relationships with outside vendors to provide our customers with an environment conducive of an intellectual lifestyle. Instead of building on our unique processes, we became obsessed with our competitors, abandoned our strengths, and decided to focus on the emerging electronic publications market by creating the Nook. This large blunder cost Barnes & Noble vast resources. To make matters worse, we misallocated a significant amount of resources to big box locations, inventory, and information technology. Overall, we have refused to partner with related industry leaders to highlight the value Barnes & Noble provides, thus alienating our customers and decreasing revenues. To re-emerge as an industry leader, we must reposition our strategy from egocentric to allocentric by keeping the vision fuzzy and our priorities clear. Now that we've established the bad place we are in, let's begin moving forward. We are going to leverage our history and experience with the retail book industry to once again become the epicenter of local communities. How exactly are we going to accomplish this? Let's get to work. Before we determine how to get there, it is imperative to evaluate the landscape through sense-making sources of discontinuity to establish an environment where we can connect and ultimately deploy our ideas. Macroeconomic conditions must be considered. The economy has experienced a gradual recovery with GDP and disposable income rising. With a variety of consumption options available, consumers have become highly selective with their spending, choosing to purchase products and services that provide them with a highly valuable experience. The microeconomic sources of discontinuity are of crucial significance in making sense of the contemporary environment. An emerging demographic trend in the United States has been the proliferation of a millennial culture that seeks more sophisticated experiences to an intellectual lifestyle. From black coffees to pumpkin spice lattes, from suit and tie to smart casual, from clean-shaven to grizzly man beards, consumers are looking for a more intimate experience, an origin story that makes them feel emotionally connected to the product or service. With an absence of severe regulations, Barnes & Noble has a wide range of options to engage the public and sell its core products. However, we must remain agile and be ready to adapt to any new potential regulations. The competitive landscape has dramatically changed due to the increasing dominance of online retailers. Consumers have shifted to online companies such as Amazon, Jet, and Alibaba, resulting in the bankruptcy of historically dominant players. Now these threats are knocking on our door and threatening our existence. Amazon is now the largest book retailer in the world and is planning on opening brick-and-mortar stores to completely eliminate remaining competition. Today's consumers are increasingly comfortable online, but they still respond to experiences that are special. This element of experience is key to Barnes & Noble's future success. To successfully reposition Barnes & Noble, we need to redefine a new strategy embracing emotion, high value, and orchestration. To appeal to the emotions of our customers, we will focus on improving the overall experience of our stores. We plan to use local artisans and vendors to convey a local significance, a feeling of exclusivity, and a relevant culture. We want Barnes & Noble to become an extension of our customers' lifestyles, a branch for creativity and a place where they feel at home. We seek to create a high-value proposition for our customers. First, we will offer speaking engagements and book signings for both national and local authors. These events will increase frequency to stores, generate revenue on non-peak days, and create a sense of community. Second, we will form partnerships with institutions of higher learning to create a textbook exchange and rental program. This will make Barnes & Noble an extension of institutional libraries and a vehicle for learning. And it will help customers save money on their textbooks. Compared with an outright sales, the rental program will lead to higher revenues. Third, we will phase out corporate vendors such as Starbucks and replace these services with local businesses culturally ingrained within the communities. In this way, customers who are already inclined to visit their favorite local shops will now have a one-stop shop to meet their work-life balance. Fourth, we will offer memberships that provide discounts to our customers on all products and services. Our customers will have exclusive access to in-store events, such as our guest speakers, plus book signings and artistic performances. Lastly, we will create an aesthetically captivating location that will keep our assets light and provide an intimate and enjoyable environment through a design team that will curate the interiors of our stores. Small business employees, entrepreneurs, and students will utilize our facilities and resources similar to a shared workspace. In aggregate, these steps will promote an intellectual lifestyle and evoke an emotional connection with our customers, thereby increasing the numerator. Now that we have analyzed emotion and high value, it is time to address the third pillar of successful companies, orchestration. We must strengthen our unique processes and seek out partnerships with companies to orchestrate our weaknesses. Instituting a series of enabling relationships will empower Barnes & Noble to create the necessary network to successfully create a sustainable and differentiated business model. Our symphony will be composed of 4 central nodes: food and beverage, music, art, and education. These partnerships with local businesses will allow us to accomplish a uniquely tailored in-store experience that cannot be replicated online by our large competitors. In Miami, we will partner with local food and beverage vendors such as Pasión del Cielo to provide curated menus tailored to the tastes of our local community. Barnes & Noble of Miami will host performances by local music groups and host live art exhibitions during important cultural events such as Art Basel. Barnes & Noble of Miami will also partner with local preparatory businesses such as Advantage Testing of Miami to provide both students and tutors with an alternative location to gather and prepare for the future. Not only must we be strategic and selective regarding our partnerships, but we must also keep in mind a series of fundamental principles that are essential in connecting our network. We need to keep our assets light to increase flexibility and agility. We must be fully honest to our partners about our objectives to establish a relationship of transparency. And we will adapt to changing markets through continuous orchestration of our dynamic processes. A network of sophisticated nodes will enable Barnes & Noble to redefine itself and transition from an egocentric to an allocentric organization. The combination of the unique corporate Lego pieces with the new business model will result in the creation of a complex platform that leverages Barnes & Noble's unique competencies while simultaneously orchestrating around Barnes & Noble's weaknesses through enabler processes. The deployment strategy will run, grow, and transform Barnes & Noble into an industry leader. Implementing the steps of our proposed strategic framework will allow Barnes & Noble to focus on its strengths and adapt to the modern business environment. However, to maintain successful operations moving forward, the company must ensure that it abides by a set of strategic concepts. Given its relatively small size and limited investment resources, it is suboptimal for Barnes & Noble to continue to compete with major players in the hardware space. Barnes & Noble management must remain aware of the shortcomings of small t and seek to innovate through the big T paradigm. Barnes & Noble must avoid focusing on product innovation and seek to innovate its business model through the implementation of the previously mentioned steps. Only then will Barnes & Noble be able to revolutionize the retail bookselling industry. Barnes & Noble must also develop a set of simple rules that will allow the company to effectively run its business operations. Having a set of simple strategic principles will allow the company to capitalize on opportunities as they arise. An integral simple rule that Barnes & Noble should implement would be to cater to local consumer preferences by providing food and beverage options that are favored by the local population. Barnes & Noble must also execute on the active waiting strategy by incorporating a series of best practices during periods of competitive lulls that will allow the company to survive and thrive during periods of increased competition. While Barnes & Noble must have a corporate vision, it must be kept fuzzy to sufficiently allow for a level of flexibility that ensures the longevity of the firm. Management must also seek to have a capital margin of safety in the form of excess cash, or a war chest, in order to provide the company with the resources to either capture golden opportunities or to fend off survival threats which may arise in the future. Lastly, management cannot fall victim to continue following established patterns of behavior that, while successful in the past, no longer provide any advantage. Instead, Barnes & Noble must be able to come up with innovative systematic functions that are synthetic in nature. A traditional analysis would indicate that the brick-and-mortar book industry is dead, but that assertion is wrong, as it is outdated and fails to consider the complexities of modern strategy. Through focusing on emotion, providing high value, and by orchestrating a network of sophisticated nodes, Barnes & Noble has an opportunity to turn around performance and once again become the premier industry leader.